forthcoming book, Athens Clarke County, I was here first. As a child of the South, well, Athens Clarke County anyway, sitting down in a real restaurant for the first time in my life at age 12 is an event that has remained panoramic within my memory since 1962. That single experience taking place in an Italian restaurant 821 miles north of Georgia was unique in my forming the phrase, was it that hard? Just that simple phrase, like when the decision of the historic Brown versus the Board of Education came down in my favor in 1954, but our Athens Clarke County schools didn't follow through until 1971, when finally the high schools merged and graduated its first integrated class of blacks, whites, and other residents. Was it that hard? Or when in 1964, President Lyndon Johnson signed into law the Civil Rights Act of 1964. I have to just repeat that year. You see, the Civil Rights Act, well, the words anyway, gave me all kinds of freedoms in Athens Clarke County. LBJ said I could go to swimming pools, eat in restaurants, go to churches, but it was all on paper. Action had yet to hit the real world of reality in Athens. The president had spoken, but I just had to wait until the powers that be in the South said it was okay. And it finally came about. When it did, I uttered the words, was it that hard? Say the words with me. Was it that hard? But in 1962, long before LBJ versus Athens was to happen, I was age 12. My stiff frame was sitting in an Italian restaurant in Brooklyn, New York, looking scarily around, thinking any minute my family would be humiliated, roughed up, arrested, or even killed. Instead, I spied individuals of all races, cultures, and backgrounds interested only in one thing, receiving a good meal. Was it that hard? My older sister had lived in New York since graduating from high school in 1957. I was 1 year away from attending the same segregated high school she'd attended, and in 4 years would graduate and possibly join her. I started high school at age 13 because it was merged at that time. She had escaped, I had yet to find the breadcrumbs, and like her, she had to first arm herself with an education for the long road ahead. In New York, my sister had found an island of freedoms our small southern segregated town did not afford anyone in my family. Like her, I have to relocate. Was it relocation or the witness protection program? I forget which one. My sister Dolores, having found a job as a secretary in a large bank in Manhattan, had saved enough money to send for her 4 younger siblings every summer so that we could have what she had not had in the South, the freedom, exposure, and education that comes only through travel. We were free. We just didn't know it living in Athens. After a lifetime of yassums and nassas, here was my sister Dolores Costello in her chosen utopia, lifting her dark brown eyes up to light blue eyes as an equal. While I was looking scarily around, she was oblivious to anything except the restaurant menu. I almost fell out of my chair when she gave the waiter the order in Italian. How'd she do that? Our small segregated high school taught only 2 languages while she was a student there, French and Latin. But here she was quite clearly in her element, a veteran at giving orders to an Italian waiter in Italian. He was smiling at her choices and quickly scanned all of us, a bit amused at our southern accent. I found it disturbing and exhilarating she had gained such confidence on her own. Disturbing because I didn't have that confidence, and exhilarated because I could attain it. We were about to eat a meal with ingredients my mother had in our garden and cupboard back home. But she never prepared this. With ingredients like tomatoes, bell peppers, onions, garlic, and flour, it's strange Mother never thought to use all of the colorful produce and invent a huge twirling circle while serving it right up for Sunday dinner instead of the delicious roasted baked chicken we usually devour. The waiter wasn't serving us last, nor ignored us as if we did not exist at all, nor did he smirk at our presence in the brightly lit room. But with mittens, he placed the hottest pan in the world in the middle of the table for all of us to see. Don't touch, it's hot, he warned us. The fragrance, the cooked ingredients, can't you just smell it now? the steam emanating from the rounded circle of whatever the hell it was, sitting in the middle of our red square table took center stage. But I had no idea what to do until the waiter placed white ceramic plates in front of each of us. The simple deduction, this was something to eat and not a cooked vegetable centerpiece. He expertly placed sliced triangles of goop on each of the plates in front of everyone at the table. "Enjoy your meal," was all he said, as if he really meant it, and then discreetly disappeared behind flapping doors leading to the kitchen. It was my first slice of pizza. Primo assaggio di pizza. And here in freedom-loving New York, I was in a restaurant eating it. Was it that hard? Why, just the day before, I'd been sitting in the colored section of the small railway station on College Avenue and Ware Street in Athens, waiting for the Silver Comet train to whisk me north to meet my sister. I'd used the station's colored bathroom and sipped water from the station's colored water fountain. Now, in this restaurant in Brooklyn, New York, if I had to go, it was to the ladies and not colored. Sorry, I just gotta say it again. Was it that hard? My siblings and I had left for New York the day after school was officially out for the summer. Mother and Daddy took us to the station and made sure we were on the right car, the colored section, car 32B. I'll never forget that number or that letter. Blacks could only sit in car 32B, even if there were no more seats available. But whites could sit in any car they liked. If there was an overflow in their separate cars, they could come and sit in car 32B. But don't try that at home, boys and girls, if you were indigo colored. After a 12-hour train journey, on a segregated train, eating food from the boxed lunch Mother had prepared us, the club car was off limits, it was thrilling for me to be permitted to sit in a restaurant with a white man serving me a meal and looking for all of life as if he was enjoying it. It made me think, even at the age of 12, was it that hard? I'd never eaten in a restaurant before. Oh, no, I take that back. I had eaten in a black restaurant in Athens before. It was in my walking distance, it was a walking distance of my neighborhood, and it was the only restaurant in town we could legally go into, owned by a black, seating blacks. I could go in, sit down, and have a meal, and that was because Southern laws stated I was not good enough, clean enough, intelligent enough, rich enough, savvy enough, verbal enough to sit down and eat a damn hamburger or a hot dog without special training in their restaurants. I'm guessing that was the rationale. But Dad had his own way of dealing with prejudice. My father wouldn't allow us to do as some blacks did and settle. In other words, he wouldn't allow us to go to the back door of white restaurants and pay interior room prices for backdoor service. Daddy said people make you feel inferior if you allow it. He didn't allow his daughters nor his sons to feel they were less than anybody. I mean, look at me. Can't you tell? Can't you see his teaching? I am uppity and arrogant. Daddy was right, and he made me appreciate me. But let's get back north. I'd never been inside a real restaurant before with whites and blacks carrying on as normally as anything, and not as if the mere act would cause worlds to collide. I'd never tasted pizza before, never, and the fragrance was intoxicating to a 12-year-old. But when I saw it for the first time, really looked at it, I cringed. I was looking at what looked like the regurgitated insides of someone's bloated body. I wasn't convinced the concoction was edible. It was a painter's canvas of red and whitish, yellowish, gooish globs of microscopic threads clinging throughout. My culturally advanced sister seemed delighted as she tucked in, and I deferred to her superior knowledge of such things. The Coca-Cola on the table in tulip-shaped glasses was the only food item I recognized. My sister Dolores picked up a slice, and the point of the triangle immediately flopped downward. The globby thread started pirouetting in all directions. It looked disgusting. Dolores actually ate a large portion. After dangling the pointed triangle towards her open mouth, it was an Olympic-style maneuver of balancing the pizza with her hands as she manipulated it into her mouth, and then took a huge bite off the tip. After that bite, more stringy globs going everywhere, even though she so expertly got a 10 out of 10 for the effort. She indicated she wanted us to try ours, and my 3 siblings quickly reached for their individual slices, completely trusting our sister's lead. Well, I waited to see if they were all going to drop dead. Then I could have their clothes and better toys when I got back home. Well, after a discreet period of mourning, that is. I scanned my triangle looking for anything resembling Georgia comfort foods, trying to imagine the pizza was really canned sweet potatoes, or green beans, or scrambled eggs, or even fried crappie. Anything. It didn't work. I finally found a section that had more red on it, tomatoes, than that whitish, yellowish, globbish mess. Closed my eyes and took a small bite of the narrow end of the triangle. It was hot and it burned the tip of my tongue, but I didn't care. My eyes flashed open to my sister and then to my siblings. The scent of fresh tomatoes and cheese assailed me, and I closed my eyes and took a second huge bite. I had found ambrosia in the form of a wide, round, flat, tomatoey pie. I was in love. I licked my fingers. Oh my goodness. Mother would die if she saw us all sitting here in front of white folks, eating with our hands. Oh God, the shame of it. I turned to look at the other customers. A mixed bag of folks eating pizza. Only one was eating pizza with a fork. I saw her, and so did the waiter. He walked over and in a temper, snatched it out of her hand and tossed it across the restaurant. I don't know why that pleased me so much, but it did. What would the white folks of Athens say if they saw me sitting in a restaurant, eating plain as day, in front of God and everybody? What could they do? I wouldn't find that out for 12 more years while I was in college in the South. And a lot of black and white people, called the Freedom Riders, ended up dead trying to get me the right to vote, the ability to eat in restaurants, the ability to drink out of unlabeled water fountains, pee in unlabeled restrooms, have the right to live anywhere I could afford, to work anywhere I could qualify, and get elected in any district I lived. The back road of many a southern town are laden with their bones. The explosion of churches, the limbs of trees, mysterious cars following freedom riders through dirt roads later to find black bodies and white bodies slumped over car wheels. And why? Simply because they were making the U.S. Constitution, making it keep its part of its freedom for all bargain. They died young, and some died old, for people like you and I. They died believing in the United States Constitution. You know, that historic document everyone loves to declare war over and die, but not even politicians truly read and understand the true meaning of the words, freedom for all. Nor do they live by it. Freedom is meant only for them. Well, I'm way past 12 now. I'm way past 22, 42, 6, well, let's just stop there. It's been a long time since the Freedom Riders, black and white, were hanged, drowned, shot, beaten to death in the South, just so I could receive what I'd already been promised in 1776. I'm now old. They died young. I'm trying to honor them by voting in every election, good, weather, and bad. Honor them by not succumbing to illegal or even prescription drugs. Honor their efforts by turning off, what's that phrase? Reality television. I've tried to honor them by arming myself through obtaining an education, by reading, and exposure to travel more than 2 minutes from my doorstep. I've tried to make their efforts, all of their efforts, count for something. And I pass it on to my children who are educated and don't watch reality television, nor give a rat's rear end about what a celebrity wears, does, eats, or lives. I honor them by sacrificing, by remembering them and thinking how far things have changed since their ultimate sacrifice. And wondering, was it that hard? I'm in this coffee shop with all of you, sipping coffee today, reading together, talking together, laughing together. Was it that hard? The old South prejudices I knew as a child are gone. But sadly, it still rears its ugly head from time to time. And we all have to kill it again and again, all of us. But I'm a child of the South, and I refuse to turn it over just because of the color of my skin. And so I came home to live, to remember the good times, and there were some, to raise my family here. This is my home. It's where my parents and grandparents are buried. My pizza-loving sister, who found her breadcrumbs in Brooklyn, New York, is now long dead. But I remember her too. When I think of her, I remember my first taste of pizza. Primo Assaggio di Pizza. I ate it in an integrated restaurant in Brooklyn, New York in 1962. And I don't think I've ever had a better slice since then. I returned home to Athens in September, ready to start a new school year. But unable to do all the things in Athens Clarke County I had done 821 miles away in New York. I rode on the back of a bus, avoided white restaurants, avoided white churches, and definitely the white police. But how does that old song go? They can't take that away from me. Education and the fact that I now know firsthand that it ain't that damn hard.